Your every dress says monogrammed SS. You throw an Aryan picnic and bash. Makes me irate when you say I look great when I wear my little tiny mustache. Your social politics say that races don't mix and you call it your blood pollution. Call me paranoid, but I'm not overjoyed. I've screwed it up. Ah! Well, have this part then.
The stirs make you glance. Grab your hats, y'all. HI's going live on YouTube. Where the truth fly. With the boots on the ground, a cam in her hand. HI's patrolling this great land. Through city streets and back road dust. She's watching the watchers in her we trust. Streaming live from dawn to night. She's the voice of justice, the beacon of light. HI standing tall and proud. Country heart, her voice ain't loud. Tune in on YouTube, see her stance. She's telling the stories that make you glance. Under the neon lights or the setting sun, HI's work is never done. From the sheriff's misdeeds to the city patrol, her lens is sharp, she's on a roll. Investigating truths with a country flair. On YouTube, you'll find it there. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell for more. HI's got stories galore. On YouTube's trail, she rides ahead. Champion of the free, just like she said.
All the windows are busted out.
All the windows are busted out. Yeah. Welcome in, everybody. It is Naughty Corner Tuesday.
I will accept that.
It glitches when it
It's
glitches.
no worse. It's no worse than
Yeah.
I did with the intro. I mean, and you know why I messed up, right? Because I was going to do the first version, the first part, and then I
And you
switched
did
right
the
before I
thing,
went live because I can't stream that on YouTube. Like what I was doing was real hard to paint. For every problem, there's a final solution. I think you're a Nazi. Anyway, and don't be lying, baby. We got
Come on,
Juggalass in the house.
flying, baby.
There's a song on YouTube called "I Think You're a Nazi." If you haven't heard it, you should go listen to it because it's actually funny. It's hilarious. I know it sounds like it should be a travesty, and it kind of is because homie did date her for 5 years. How hot is she that for 5 years a Jewish guy dated her, ignoring the fact that she was obviously on the swastika?
Wow.
And how did she not figure it out?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know.
Anyway, so shift happens. Welcome in. We got P Fletch 83. Welcome in. Bud Scotty
Welcome
Waddles.
in.
P Fletch gets the gold. Scotty Waddles gets the silver.
What? Scotty didn't get the gold? Oh,
I don't get it. Actually, I think he pops up first on your chat over there, but him and Fletch, Fletch was here and he was there, and I guess mine wins, I suppose, because they're the same time, 4:29 p.m. So I tell you what, y'all can share the gold. We'll give Vic the silver, and that way Wingspan Angel can get the bronze.
There we go.
Everybody, appreciate your activity.
Everybody,
got unindoctrinated. Good to see you.
welcome in, bestie.
Collaboration of curiosities. It kind of sounds like my wedding night. We got Juggalasses over here. How you doing? Good to see you. John Clark.
Ellen's a streetwalker. Prayers
Yeah.
for you, John.
Okay. And my chat's usually the savages. That was weird.
What?
Everything on my computer just went black for a second
Oh.
and then popped back up. So, like, what's up, Catlin? Good to see you. Appreciate you coming through. We got Fab Daddy 44 and Truth Be Told audits. It's free Rush Dash rides for the ones in the back. We got everybody. I think.
Shift
Did I miss
happened.
anybody? Yeah, I said Catlin. I did. And
I
I'll
said
do it again.
shift happens. Where do you get Catlin?
Shift happens.
Shift happens. I guess.
Don't. Just don't.
Okay.
I haven't even started drinking, so don't.
Okay.
Because we were supposed to do $4 shots last week. We didn't do it.
We didn't do it.
I
Nope.
didn't do it.
You didn't
You know
do
why I
it.
didn't do it?
Why didn't
Because
you
I
do
didn't
it?
do it. I didn't do it.
'Cause
Nobody
you
can tell
didn't
me
do
what
it.
to do. I didn't do it. That's right.
Didn't do it.
All right. So, does anybody in chat remember the
X Havoc, welcome in.
chairman of the board? Good to see you. Y'all remember the evil child from like the mid '80s that did all the interviews, and she supposedly like had terrorized her family unendingly. All right, I'm just gonna go into the video, right?
No, I was born in the 80s, so I'm sure I have no. Yeah,
You would have been. She's actually about your age,
probably, but
maybe a little closer to my age. Buddy Lorenzo, you chill out. It's always Lorenzo's fault. Jeannie, shift happens. Who's the genie? What did I do? I've done something wrong.
I don't know. Fab
Sorry.
Daddy in the house.
You.
Linda Blair.
Linda Blair. Where?
I don't know. X Havoc said Linda Blair.
Oh.
Yeah, the question you asked,
Obviously, I mean,
or the
we should all know
statement that
that.
you made.
You know, I talk a lot. Sometimes I just have to tune myself out. Remember this chick?
Nope.
All right, so they did this interview. She was the subject of quite a bit of study from the late 70s, early 80s, and around the time this is filmed, she was being housed in like one of the very only locations where criminally insane children were kept.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the dying death knell of our mental health institutions in America. After this whole and this was only a small part of it. There was a lot more to why they got shut down and stuff. But the fact that people like this existed was supposed to inspire people to fund these institutions, and instead, well, I'll show you.
My Izzy, welcome.
I have animals, Beth.
4 of them.
Can you tell me their names?
Clyde, Shooky, Darcy, and Annie. And Daddy said a day ago that there was a stray cat that did not have a home, so Daddy was taking care of it and took it to the vet when he had his flight to go.
And what do you do to the animals, Beth?
They come with pins.
What? Like what kind of pins?
Like
Not
needles.
that it matters, but okay. I was just
needles. Stick them with pins. And this interview goes on. I think there's like 6 hours of interviewing with this chick, and they range from across
with this
like
child. Don't even say chick. It's a child.
It's a child there. She's 49 now or
Okay,
something.
but yeah.
Anyway, my point is like this isn't the only interview she has, and it's classically it is pointed at to show psychopathy in action, like the actual direct. But there's a bit of an issue here, and I know you can't see it on the little phone screen down there. Her pupils are dilated out as big as freaking oranges. They are huge. And she is really messed up. She's also on more dope than you've ever heard of. Like they've got her dope to the gills, and she's functioning. I mean, listen to her talk. She's not confused.
Do you stick them a little bit or a lot?
A lot.
What are you trying to do to the animals, Beth?
Kill them.
What do they do when you stick them with the pins?
Well, Annie cries. She's a dog.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
All right, so this is probably going to be a little bit of a difficult one. If you've never encountered this particular character, she's kind of skirted around the very edge of the whole internet scene. There's not a whole lot to tell about her. Honestly, it's a horrendous, heinous story, the whole thing. And how she ended up in this situation where she's being interviewed. There were her parents were brought under charges because they put a padlock on her room. They took everything out of her room that was anything harder than soft plastic or plushies.
Is
And
he like, I know that was a joke, but I should time you out for that, you naughty kitty. That's not justice in a few years. What's wrong with you? Okay.
oh yeah,
sorry.
Jeannie the feral child. I did a show on her a while back.
Welcome in, Queen Caitlin.
I think me and her did. What's up, Queen? I seen something. I'm sorry, I don't know why I just thought of this. We've got this old lady here in town who walks the sidewalks around the block here, and she was wearing a Pornhub shirt yesterday. Like all 93 years of her wearing a Pornhub tank top. I was like, who gave her that? Does she know? I wonder.
Oh.
This little girl's name is Beth, and her story is different from the ones you usually hear. When she was just 6 years old, she appeared on
Welcome in,
TV,
Five
and when
Fists.
her dad left
A million to chat, baby. Good to see you. Welcome in.
everyone stunned.
Kill him.
Why do you want your brother to die?
Because I was hurt so bad, and I don't want to be around people.
Okay. Who else would you like to stick pins into?
Mommy and Daddy.
Beth wasn't like other kids her age. She carried deep pain and anger inside her, the kind that doesn't just go away. Her adoptive parents, Tim and Julie Tennant, were trying to give her a new life, a fresh start. But what they didn't know was how dark her past really was. And the scary thing occurred when Beth sat down with a psychiatrist, Dr. Ken Magid. During those sessions, she said things that no one could have expected from a child her age. The Tennants, who had opened their hearts and homes to her, were faced with something terrifying that they couldn't have been prepared for. Beth's story is one that unfolds with each revelation, showing how the wounds of a broken childhood can shape a child's mind in unimaginable ways. But that's just the beginning. What happened in those therapy sessions,
Welcome
what
in,
Beth
Oklahoma.
revealed, is something that stayed with everyone who heard it. This story is about a troubled child and a glimpse into the impact of early trauma and how it can turn a young life upside down.
Okay, so this case was referenced to by a vast segment of psychologists after it was revealed. And it was utilized to try to promote the concept of nurture over nature, that the raising environment of the child is what determines the psychological characteristics of the child over the birth conditions of the child. That is to say, the parents' genetics have less to do with it than the actual conditions of the child. But it's not as cut and dry with that with her, right? There are very early signs of psychopathy involved in this child's workup, regardless of at what point in time you go to her. Now, we don't have anything substantial on her except, if I remember right, it's a couple of emergency room visits, and I think he makes a reference at one point about the vet visit, something about the vet, and I can't remember. So they make a note of, like, they had the people that she stayed with, her parents to start with, and then the foster parents all had massive vet increases. So something was happening to them. Right. So it's not so much a nurture over nature as it is we don't know still, because
Mhm.
this doesn't really tell you anything when you dig deeper.
Now, we don't have a pretty much exact date about her birth, but Beth Thomas came into this world around 1982, somewhere in the United States. What we do know is that her start in life was anything but ordinary. When she was just a baby, about 1 year old, tragedy struck. Beth's mother passed away, leaving her and her newborn brother Jonathan alone with their abusive father. Now, you might think a father would step up and take care of his kids after losing his wife, but that's not what happened. Instead,
No.
Beth's father did the unthinkable. He didn't just neglect Beth and Jonathan, he also hurt them in ways that are difficult to even talk about. For months, Beth and her brother lived in a nightmare. Their father's
What's up,
cruelty
Carrie?
was
Welcome in.
something no child
Fuck
should
you,
ever
Carrie.
experience. He was going to sexually abuse the little children day by day and even beat them.
I kind of find that reversed.
How so?
As severity. They brought in the SA as a thing before mentioning the physical abuse, and I kind of feel like the physical abuse part is the lesser of two evils in that particular thing.
Right.
It's just a weird editorial choice. I wouldn't have gone that way.
Tag, welcome in.
Tag, good to see you, buddy.
Beth was so little, just 1 year
The
old.
ladies of
when all
I
this was
Talk,
happening.
welcome in. Thank you for
Jonathan,
stopping by.
even younger, was only 7 months old when things finally changed. But by the time they were taken from that house, the damage had already been done. You see, Jonathan had been left in his cot all day, every day. His little head had become misshapen because he never got to move around or even sit up. That's how awful it was.
John himself was found in a bassinet with little patches of urine all over it and a dirty diaper and a couple of bottles at his feet that had curdled milk, and the back of his head was completely flat. The front of his head had bulged out, and at 7 months he couldn't raise his head, couldn't roll over. He was just had no stimulation.
Fortunately for them, in February 1984, their life finally changed. The Department of Social Services stepped in and took both Beth and Jonathan away from their father. It was a rescue, but it was late. The scars, both physical and emotional, were already there.
Right. And so from that point, the psychological examinations kind of take place. At first, it's not a whole lot to go on. There's a few references from like some CPB type agents. There's a couple of references from some cops that were involved in some transferal. The one thing you take away from everybody's account of these children, the little boy, clueless, no clue what's going on. The little girl, nefarious. She was always just as sweet as she could be until the very second you let your guard down, and then she'd kick you, she'd stab you, she'd bite you, and she'd take a chunk out. It wasn't just I'm being petulant. She was attempting to hurt someone who had gotten close to her physically, like close, where she could reach them.
After the children were taken from their father, the Department of Social Services had to find them a new home. They needed a fresh start, a place where they could heal from everything they'd been through. That's when they told a couple who were looking to adopt about these 2 young kids. The couple was Tim and Julie Tennant. They were ready to welcome Beth and Jonathan into their lives, not knowing the full extent of what these children had endured. Beth and Jonathan were just babies when they were adopted, but the trauma they'd experienced wasn't something that could easily be left behind. Their new parents, Tim and Julie, were kind and loving, but even they couldn't see the full picture of what had happened to Beth and Jonathan before they came into their home. Beth and Jonathan were on their way to a new life, but the shadows of their past were far from gone. This is where things start to get even more complicated, and where Beth's journey takes her down a path that no one could have predicted.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Why don't you do me a favor? I want you to share this stream with somebody out there that you really want to laugh tonight. Because we're going to go over stuff that's going to make them cry. It's going to be amazing.
I was about to say, dude, like none of this is gonna make anybody laugh.
Yeah. So maybe not do that. Do the other thing. Share with somebody you don't like. That might be a more fruitful endeavor.
Their new father, Tim, was a minister at a small Methodist church in the American South, and he and Julie had been married for over 10 years. They wanted children, but couldn't have it.
Anybody else see the crazy eye on that girl?
Yeah.
She looks like somebody might have stabbed someone. Twice. What's up, Thoth
The
Mark?
double back around just to stab him again.
Yeah, right. Because she was intending on stabbing them in the back, and they turned around, so we got to stab them again.
Janica, welcome in.
Janica, good
Janica.
Any of their own. So when the opportunity came to adopt Beth, who was just 19 months old, and Jonathan, only 7 months old, they were over the moon. They had no idea what they were getting into. Tim and Julie were told that these two kids were normal and healthy, but that couldn't have been farther from the truth. They didn't know about the deep scars that Beth carried from her early life. The signs started to show almost immediately after Beth joined their family. It began with small, unsettling incidents, but things quickly escalated. One day, while Julie was watching, Beth did something that no one could have expected from such a young child. She found a nest of baby birds in a tree.
She got baby birds down out of the nest, and we thought maybe she was just curious. So we explained that she could hurt them, put them back, and went through a whole sitting down and talking to her about the problem of it. And the next day we went out to check the baby birds, and they were on the ground dead with their necks broken.
Julie tried to explain to Beth that if she removed the nest, the mother bird wouldn't come.
All right.
And she's what, 3 at this?
4 tops. Yes.
That's crazy.
Lorenzo, chill out.
Back, but Beth didn't care. She took the nest down and, without a second, squeezed each of the baby birds until they were dead. It was a horrifying moment, one that hinted at the darkness that Beth was hiding in.
And what do you do to the animals, Beth?
They come with pins.
Do you stick them a little bit or a lot?
A lot.
What are you trying to do to the animals, Beth?
Kill them.
But that was just the beginning.
What's up, Gregory Talk? Good to see you, bud. Appreciate you coming through. Yeah, we all remember her. But everybody who come across this interview has this girl leaves a stain on your psyche.
Welcome in, Gregory. That's crazy.
Beth's behavior became more and more disturbing, especially towards her little brother, Jonathan. She didn't just bully him or tease him like siblings sometimes do. She emotionally and physically abused him.
With Jonathan one morning, she was molesting him.
What?
He was crying and his pants were down.
Right. You want to skip that part?
No, I don't. It's part of the story, but
What's up, Chicky?
yes. Don't be talking no smack on my chickie.
Just saying it's Chicky.
It is Chicky.
Welcome in.
Chickiesthebomb.com.
And I said, Beth, what's happening? And she said, I pulled his penis
How far down this road you want to go?
Let's go.
and put my finger up his anus. And I said, didn't he say to stop? And she said, yeah, he did. And I said, did you? And she said, no.
Beth wanted to hurt him badly. There were times when she even tried to kill him.
To highlight X Havoc's comment. That's crazy.
I mean, it's there. Look, regardless of how excellent society can become, there will always be individuals in there that are outside the parameters of norm. So we have to have guardrails in society to protect society in general from these people who are outside the norm. Now, whether that's
Butterfly, welcome in.
we have a
Sorry.
butterfly. I
Butterfly.
like to see butterflies flutter by. It doesn't bother me.
Yes, what the fuck, Gregory? Exactly. What the
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's a hard case. The whole case, every part of it's difficult. There's no good part of it to speak of. So, I mean, it's twisted, it's annoying, but it also gives a very good basis for the modern understanding of the concept of psychopathy, right? So
psychopath.
when you tell people they're a psychopath, you're usually wrong. Usually you're way off base.
One day, she grabbed Jonathan
Share.
and smashed his
Share.
head onto the concrete
Share.
floor.
I don't wanna-
And it wasn't just
I don't like sharing. I played by myself better.
an accident. Beth wanted to see him bleed.
She had tried to kill John on several occasions and openly admitted that.
In the basement, she was hitting his head against a cement floor. I heard his screams and ran down and had to literally pull her hands off, and she looked wild-eyed.
Beth didn't hide what she was thinking either. She openly told Tim and Julie that she wanted to kill Jonathan. She also talked about how she wanted to stab them too, her own adoptive parents. It was clear that Beth had no sense of right or wrong, no conscience telling her that what she wanted to do was wrong. When Beth wasn't threatening violence, she was doing things that were completely out of place, and she didn't care who was watching.
That's crazy. That's
But what do? You can explain to her that these things are wrong. She doesn't care. She continues doing them. You can punish her for it. Doesn't care. Continues doing it. You take everything away from her to try to stop her from doing these things, and she will plot and scheme to get a hold of things so that she can continue doing it.
I don't know.
How do you deal with that? I mean, are you supposed to handcuff her and stick her in a room by herself so she can't hurt herself or others? She doesn't seem interested in harming herself. So there's at least that. But what do you do? Chat, what do we do? We have a very dangerous member of society who's below the age of consent and basically has just no compunction and no conscience.
Oh my God.
Right? If she, okay, yeah, I'll let it play a little further. There's a couple of specific incidents I'm waiting to be described, and I want to go over the situation from your perspective in that situation.
Sometimes she would masturbate in public and do other sexual things that would make anyone around her uncomfortable.
Have you ever rubbed your private parts?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do it a lot?
A lot.
Oh.
How far down this road do you want to go?
Mm.
But the point I'm trying to make here is
My
the
anger
lack of
is
conscience.
with the dad,
With
right?
the
I
dad,
mean,
yes,
yes, it's just and she's just a victim, and it
just
just
the victim.
oh my
Yes, but she is
God.
also dangerous because
Yes,
she has no conscience.
yes.
She does not have that little voice inside your head that says this might be wrong. Or maybe she has it, but she's just like, screw you, little voice. I'm gonna do things. I don't know. But without this case, most of our understanding of modern psychopathy is basically the same as it would be with it, but we don't have an example to point at. I mean, you talk about people like freaking who was the crazy clown. Yeah, he's a sociopath. You talk about people with other type of pathologies, but it's really hard to take an example of psychopathy and
All of the chatters know this story but me. What the hell?
well, I mean, that's actually a pretty good thing. This makes you an excellent reaction. Right? I mean, that's kind of
Yes.
what it's all
I
about.
mean, that's what it's all about. And Carrie, I think she is answering honestly. I really do.
Well, this goes on. This goes on to tell you where she's at today. So sort of, it's a you'll see.
It gives an update of where she's at now. You mean?
Yeah, and it's I don't. I'm not. I'll let you find out.
Okay.
How much do you do that?
About every single day in Lexington. I did it every single day until it got real bad and messed up, and I had to go to the doctor, and I did not like it.
There was no shame, no guilt, just a young child driven by...
That's the word I was looking for. Shame. There's no shame. A complete lack of conscience, a willingness to do whatever crosses her mind at the point and the gravity that it crosses.
impulses that she couldn't control.
And I knew then, I thought, she's got them.
Tell me about the knives. Where did you get them?
From the drawer.
And where else? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
I got them from the dishwasher.
What kind of knives?
Big sharp ones.
Ghost Eagle Guardian. I don't know if we shouted you out earlier. Good to
Welcome
see
in,
you.
Ghost Eagle.
Appreciate you coming through.
And what do you want to do with those knives?
Kill John and Mommy with them, and Daddy.
Tim and Julie were beyond scared. They had adopted...
Right. So...
this little girl, thinking they could give her a loving home. But now they were living in constant fear. They didn't know what to do. Every night, they had to lock Beth in her room to keep her from hurting Jonathan or them. It was the only way they could protect themselves from the anger and rage that Beth carried inside her. They loved Beth, but they were also terrified of her. And as each day passed, the darkness inside Beth seemed to grow, threatening to tear the family apart.
Welcome in.
Tim and Julie were trapped in a nightmare, one that started with love and hope, but quickly turned into something entirely different. So after everything that had happened, it became clear that Beth Thomas wasn't just a troubled child. She was dealing with something much deeper.
Probably a couple of months.
All right, so you realize one day that your slightly disturbed adopted daughter has started collecting all the knives in the house. She's got them hidden in her room somewhere. You go and ask her what she wants the knives for. She says, "Oh, I'm going to kill you." So you call somebody to come talk to your daughter that's a professional, and she tells them the same thing. Now what? Consider that.
Until we began to learn something about their background and their past. And
So-
when we learned it, some things seemed to fall in place.
It seems just, and it could be the way that the video is laid out, the editing or whatever. So were they not informed with the complete background story?
No. They were offered a like a 22-month-old and an 18-month-old, and they adopted them, took them home, and immediately she had, which, I mean, he was obviously an issue because he had learning disabilities or whatnot. She was an issue because she immediately became dangerous to everyone in the household.
No, I get that. But I'm saying during the adoption process, like that was...
No. It was it was just there's young children need a home. All right, we'll take them. Sign the papers. The people went through a vetting process, but the children were just available, and they were placed with these apparently nice people. Wow, right? Wow.
About her behavior and John's behavior.
Eventually, she was diagnosed with a condition called reactive attachment disorder, or RAD for short. Now, this isn't something you hear about every day. It's a condition that only gets diagnosed in the most extreme cases, and it's believed to affect about 1% to 2% of children.
What up, young
But for
God?
kids
Welcome
in
in.
the foster care system, like Beth, That number might be higher. Beth started taking sessions with a psychologist named Dr. Ken Magid, and through their sessions, the true root of her trauma began to surface. It wasn't just the typical difficulties you might expect from a child. It was the result of severe mistreatment and neglect from her biological father. Over time, as Dr. Magid worked with her, Beth slowly began to open up about what she had been through.
I
In
sell Uckerman.
1990, HBO aired a documentary called Child of Rage, which
Crafty, iced out. Good to see you. Appreciate both of y'all showing up. At this point, I want you to share this with somebody that you've lost touch with.
followed Beth's journey through these therapy sessions. The footage was difficult to watch. People were shocked by what they saw. The things Beth said and the way she acted were unlike anything they had ever seen in someone so young.
Why do I feel like half the chat just sent it to themselves? Right?
Probably.
Really need to get to know myself again.
One session, Dr. Magid asked Beth how she would hurt her adoptive parents if she wanted to. Without any emotion, Beth answered simply, stab them.
And what would you do to him, Beth?
Stab him.
Okay. What would you stab him with?
A knife.
She explained that she would do it at night because, as she don't like them seeing her do it, but they can feel her do it.
Mm-hmm.
When would you do it?
Nighttime.
Okay. Why would you do nighttime?
Because I don't like them seeing me do it. But they can feel me do it.
Beth also admitted to wanting to hurt her younger brother.
All right, Carrie, don't be violating any of your restraining orders.
Jonathan. When Dr. Magid asked her what she did to him, she calmly replied that she hurt him, pinched and squeezed his genitals, and even kicked him. These were not the words of a typical child. They were the confessions of someone who had been deeply scarred by her past.
Now, I pinch it, squeeze it, kick it.
Oh, my Lord.
So the question still falls. It still stands exactly the way it started. Is this a byproduct of some heinous genetic or chemical imbalance in the child's brain, or is it a direct byproduct of the of the trauma that she experienced? We know it's some combination of both, but which one takes the lion's share here? I'm just going to have to give him his own camera. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give Lorenzo his own camera.
When you do things to your brother's private parts, what does he say?
Stop.
Through these sessions, it became clear just how much pain Beth was carrying inside of her. Her words and actions were a window into the dark and disturbing experiences she had endured. But even though it was difficult, these therapy sessions were just the first steps in trying to understand what Beth had been through and how to help her move forward. Things took an even darker turn when her past with her birth father came.
Well, you see, that's kind of my point of doing this show is during the time period that this was transpiring, the psychological field was kind of in a turmoil at the time because we were kind of transitioning from like the Freudian perspective into more of a Jungian philosophy. Mm-hmm. And there's no place in either of those for this kid. This kid is an outlier, even in extremes. She is an outlier.
Came to light. Dr. Magid, the psychologist working with Beth, started asking her about a recurring nightmare she'd mentioned before. In this nightmare, Beth found herself in a house, upstairs, and there was a man coming to the stairs to hurt her. As they dug deeper, it became clear that the man in the nightmare wasn't just a figment of her imagination.
No, it's her dad.
She began showing some signs of perhaps even some abuse. There was a nightmare that she had, and the nightmare was about a man who was falling on her and hurting her with a part of himself.
Beth's memories of her father were terrifying. especially considering how young she was when it all happened. In one of the therapy sessions, Dr. Magid gently asked Beth about what she could remember of her biological father. Even though she was still just a child, the details she shared were shocking. She described how her father had treated her and her brother Jonathan with a level of cruelty that's difficult to comprehend. Beth talked about how her father had hurt her in ways no child should ever experience. She explained that he would touch and do something to her vagina until she bled, and that the pain was unbearable. Beth also recalled how he would often leave her hungry, hitting her and being mean to her whenever she was around. Despite her young age, she could vividly remember these traumatic experiences.
Well, yeah, Thoth, but the multimodal methods were actually developed after this case. Coming at it both chemically, psychologically, therapeutically, and holistically is sort of a new thing, right? So while there were specialists in the different areas back then, it didn't.
And it was clear that they had left deep scars on her.
Tell me about your birth father. What was that nightmare like?
When he touched my vagina
Okay.
until it bled, hurt it a lot until it bled, and wouldn't feed me a lot. He'd hit on me, wouldn't be very nice to me.
How old were you?
1.
When Dr. Magid asked Beth how old she was when these things happened, her answer was heartbreaking. She was only a year old. It's difficult to imagine a child so young going through something so horrific, but that was the reality of Beth's early life. The trauma she experienced at such a tender age had shaped who she was and the way she saw the world.
I'm not sure there is very much helping this young lady.
Yes,
other
there is.
than putting her somewhere safe. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, doping her up?
No.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, it depends on how she reacts to pharmaceuticals. If she reacts well to the pharmaceuticals, then that might be a thing that would help.
Hold on, I gotta look because I'm gonna say it wrong. And let me see if I can find it. CBT therapy,
CBT?
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah, cognitive behavioral therapy. Sure.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
But the thing is without a linchpin upon which, like, the morality code has been broken in her mind, right? She doesn't. There is no right or wrong. There is merely what she wishes to do. It's going to be very hard to do. She'll never understand why you're chastising her. It was just something she wanted to do.
She was doing it though because it had been done to her.
Yes, and you're not
And
wrong.
she didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Even after Beth Thomas finished her sessions with Dr. Ken Magid, it was clear that her journey to healing wasn't over yet. Dr. Magid believed that Beth needed more intensive therapy, so he decided that she should be temporarily separated from her adoptive family. Beth was then placed in the care of Connell Watkins, a therapist who is known for her strict and intensive approach to behavioral therapy. Watkins had a very disciplined way of working with Beth. She set up strict rules that Beth had to follow. For example, Beth had to ask permission for just about everything, whether it was eating, going to the bathroom, or even the simplest activities. At night, Watkins would lock her in her bedroom, not as a punishment, but as a way to keep structure and safety in place.
At nighttime, what do your parents do to your door?
Lock it shut.
Why do they lock it shut?
Because they don't want me to hurt John.
This might sound harsh, but for Beth, it was a turning point. These strict rules forced Beth to work hard to earn the trust of Watkins and the other staff members who were helping her. It wasn't straightforward for Beth, but it was exactly what she needed. Slowly, Beth began to understand the consequences of her actions and started to show real signs of change. Under Watkins' care, Beth began to flourish. The strict environment provided her with the structure she had been missing for so long, and it gave her a sense of stability. For the first time, Beth started to express genuine remorse for the pain and suffering she had caused her brother and adoptive parents. It was a huge step forward for her, and it showed that the therapy was working. As Beth started to show improvement, she gradually earned more privileges and gained more freedom. This process of earning trust helped Beth learn that her actions had consequences and that she could make better choices. Beth.
Right. But it's a learned structure, right?
Right.
She doesn't have, or as far as just talking to her and discussing these things, there's no compunction to withhold. She's perfectly willing to tell you anything you ask about it, because there's things are always going to be bad, so there's no point in not being honest, is the perspective she seems to be operating from. Right.
Hmm.
And it takes what, I think it was 15 years for her to start, like, seriously, whether she believes it or not, she's actually saying the right things at the right times. Right. She's not doing the things so much anymore.
Beth's progress was a testament to the power of dedicated therapy and the importance of finding the right approach for each child. However, it's important to note that not everyone agreed with the methods used by Watkins. Some people found her approach too strict, even controversial. However, for Beth, it was exactly what she needed to start healing. After all the hard work and progress Beth had made, she was readopted by another woman named Nancy Thomas during her treatment. Nancy provided Beth with a fresh start and a supportive environment where she could continue to heal and grow. Beth thrived in her new home. She eventually went on to graduate from the University of Colorado with a degree in nursing. This was a huge achievement for someone who had been through so much in her early life. Then came 2005, when Beth took a job as a registered nurse at Flagstaff Medical Center in Arizona. What's truly remarkable is that Beth now works with babies, caring for them with the same dedication and compassion that she once needed herself. Beth also began volunteering with her second adoptive mother, Nancy, in a program called Families by Design.
Welcome in North Alabama.
Families who have adopted or fostered
Disorderly conduct.
offering support and guidance to those who are dealing with the challenges of raising kids who have been through tough times. Now, while Beth's story might seem like a fairy tale ending, with her overcoming so much and finding success, some people see her case as a rare exception. Beth was treated by Connell Watkins, a therapist whose methods have become controversial over time. Not everyone agrees with the way Beth's therapy was handled, and some view her therapy as an anomaly rather than something that can be easily replicated. Connell Watkins, the therapist who helped Beth in her journey of healing, was found guilty of negligent mistreatment of a child in 2011. A 10-year-old girl named Candace Newmaker died under her care during a controversial therapy practice called rebirthing. This practice involved wrapping a child in blankets and applying pressure with pillows to simulate the experience of being born. Unfortunately,
Okay. So we're at that point, right?
What's that?
The level of technical care that went into manufacturing her responses to the world is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The individual that went about doing it has had some very questionable cases and some interesting successes in that list, her being one of them for the most part. You'd kind of have to dig down on that particular doctor, and which he does this very little bit, but you get like a couple of the worst instances as far as publicly available. But some of this stuff is involved in since it's dealing with children, a lot of it's kind of sealed until further notice. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a bunch of stuff involved in it we don't know. These are only the public things that are available.
Welcome
keep
in,
that-
Kane.
Kane's Catharsis. Good to see you, bud. Okay, so it's at this point that I'm going to tell everybody. I'm pretty sure it's on both of our community tabs. If y'all go to the channel and look at our public community post, there should be a StreamYard link available there. If you want to join the naughty corner, feel free.
This method went terribly wrong, and Candace was fatally
Share.
smothered. Watkins
Share.
was
I don't to share. I don't like it.
for her role in this tragedy.
Listen. If I share everything,
Listen here, Linda.
I'll say, boy, we're gonna share the screen now if you don't mind.
But she ended up serving only 7 years before being paroled. The incident cast a long shadow over the therapy methods she used, and it led to significant criticism from various groups, including Advocates for Children in Therapy. This group has been outspoken against attachment therapy, the approach Watkins used, and they specifically criticized both Beth and her adoptive mother, Nancy Thomas, for supporting these practices. The group argued parenting methods promoted by Nancy Thomas, which were influenced by attachment therapy, relied on isolation, deprivation, and other harsh techniques. They claim that these methods do more harm than good, particularly for children already dealing with difficult emotional issues. Beth Thomas, as one of the few survivors
I'm confused too.
Positively.
All right.
Caucasian
child,
when I get lost.
a child passed away during one of her therapy sessions. She was found guilty of at least, I can't remember if it was actually murder, negligent homicide, or what it was exactly, but she was found guilty, had to serve some time. Right. While she was in, some of her techniques were picked up at large by the psychological community, and other techniques were just disdained. And one of them was the artificial birth technique, where they wrap you in wet, warm blankets and simulate a rebirth so as to kind of restart your childhood without the trauma.
Okay, I didn't understand that either. Okay. Now I get it.
Right. And
about it as an adult, became a controversial figure herself. Both she and Nancy continued to promote materials and
tell you what I'm gonna do. Getting a GoPro, putting it on him, and just turning him loose and letting him run around like he does. So we can get Lorenzo Cam over here in the corner, just
right.
Services related to this therapy, which added to the ongoing debate.
Brandon Mitchell,
Beth
welcome in.
Thomas's story doesn't just end with her personal success. It continues in the lives of those she touches through her work and her advocacy. It's a story that challenges us to think deeply about the best ways to support those who need it the most, and to remember that every child's path to healing is as unique as the child themselves. By the summer of
all right, we'll get into that one in a second. All right, so what's your conclusion on that one? Nature over nurture, or nurture over nature?
Say it again. Nurture what? Nurture over
Nurture
nature
is the environment the child is raised in determines the child's behavior.
Right.
Nature is the birthing conditions of the child, meaning the DNA and the genetic impetus is more important. Which one do you think?
No, I think it's the first one.
You think? I kind of
However,
agree.
I think it's both because
there's definitely
because how
both
extreme, right? But I definitely think the first one, because had she not gone with the father, none of this would have happened.
I'm with Kane on this one. It looks like nurture won in the end for the most part. Yeah.
I thought there was an update. What the hell? You said there was an update.
That was the update. That's the first video that's been released on that case since like the past 5 years.
I think you're lying.
The previous update was basically that she had a job. That they didn't specify, but now, I mean, what do you want? It's an old case. You just hate me. Why do you hate me so much?
I don't hate you. I
should.
love you.
I'm bad at what I do. I'm no good.
So what's up next?
Now we have two choices. I've got the nosy grandma neighbor and the most twisted interrogation ever. Not really. It's fairly lame when it comes down to it, but the things she did are terrible.
So
It's just an interrogation on that case. Grandma's revenge one it's yeah.
Okay, so try repeating that so everybody can hear you, and maybe
I'm
ask
not-
the chat. Okay,
not-
or pick it.
We're gonna pick it.
What's up, shit show?
2023.
What are we doing? Where? Who?
I
Shit
said,
show.
welcome
What's
in
up?
the shit show.
Lorenzo, chill out. You're getting
Susan
mouthy.
Lorenz and Edgica A.J. Owens were embroiled in an increasingly ugly and contentious 2.5-year dispute. Miss Lorenz claimed that A.J.'s kids trespassed on her property, threatened her, and made entirely too much noise while playing in the field beside her apartment. On the other hand, A.J. was furious because she said Miss Lorenz regularly called her kids racially charged names, including the N-word.
He told us that Miss Owens herself told her, I said to Susan, if you walk up on my sons again, you're going to have to deal with me.
Sadly, the feud ended tragically and dramatically on the night of June the 2nd, 2023.
It was a Friday night in summer, and the neighborhood kids were out playing in a field near Susan Lawrence's apartment. Lawrence told the kids to scram.
Ends up throwing the roller stick and says, here, go fetch.
The mother of those two kids, A.J. Owens, went to confront Lawrence.
My wall in between our two apartments started shaking and like pounding on the wall. And it really scared me.
Owens would never make it back to see her children.
The woman was screaming and yelling. She was trying to break down my door. I didn't know what to do. I had my gun and I shot her.
Before we begin, we would like to extend our most sincere condolences to the victims in this case. 34-year-old A.J. Owens was a devoted single mother of 4, Isaac, Israel, Africa, and Titus. They all lived together in an apartment in the city of Ocala in Central Florida.
Much love, Kate.
A.J. worked in the
Have a good one.
hospitality industry and spent most of her free time taking care of and attending to her children, who she absolutely adored. Unsurprisingly, they described her as a kind and caring mother who always put their needs and well-being ahead of her own. They didn't live in the best neighborhood, but the kids had lots of friends and there was plenty of open space outside where they could run and play. At the time, 58-year-old Susan Lorenz lived in another apartment complex just a stone's throw away. And to put it mildly, her life wasn't going well. Susan Lorenz previously worked for United Healthcare, but she stopped working in late May of 2023 and filed for disability. By then, she had almost no savings, and without an income, it was all she could do to come up with rent and a car payment each month. Needless to say, she was under a tremendous amount of stress. Under the circumstances, all Susan Lorenz wanted was a little peace and quiet when she was in her apartment, which was most of the time. But unfortunately,
You buy it.
What?
Did you zone out?
Yep. You stopped the video. That was my cue. What?
What? Oh, I'm doing stuff.
No, I'm not doing anything. I just, the story. I don't know.
All right. So far, what has taken place is we know that a young mother gets shot. We know it has to do with the children making noise outside of the apartment or whatever. And she went and banged on the wall as she shot through the wall or the door or whatever, shot the woman. But is that the whole story or not is the question. Because everybody's going to tell their version of the story. Right.
Right. And that's how it was. I guess that's what they were portraying about the white old lady being under stress.
Yeah. Basically,
I was not snoring. It's the gas station coming.
Owens' children and their friends from the neighborhood often played in the empty field next to her home. And like kids everywhere,
I didn't say it.
They usually made a lot of noise. This drove Susan Lorenz bonkers, and she regularly took cell phone video of the children playing and yelling in the field to prove they were shattering her much-needed peace and quiet. As such, she had a number of contentious run-ins with AJ and her children over the years.
But did you do
it? Text. What does that even mean, X7? Did I do what?
Hey, John was doing her taxes.
In addition to making
Get
too
some
much
help.
noise, she claimed they spoke to her disrespectfully and threatened her and trespassed on her property. During one incident in early 2022, deputies responded to a call made by Susan Lorenz in which she claimed the Owens kids were disturbing the peace. When they arrived, she told them A.J. Owens had come onto her property, yanked a steel no trespassing sign out of the ground, and threw it at her leg. And this was just one of many.
This is an apartment complex, correct?
That's the impression that I get. Lorenzo is currently
there really
inside
is
his.
no.
Hold on, my dog is currently, that puppy is inside his little crate over here, trying to dig the bottom out of it because he's slightly disturbed. I have no idea. He just pulled everything out of his crate and it's apparently attacking it. I might need a dog therapist. Any dog therapists out there? Yeah, some little
Dog
doggies.
whisperer. You need a dog whisperer. But okay, so what I was saying was, if she's living in an apartment, right, and a lot of times there's grass out in front of or in between apartments, like that doesn't make it her property.
True.
I mean that's just nonsense. That's her being a Nazi right there.
She's clearly completely off base. And she's, yeah, it goes a little further into it. She calls the cops, and she's constantly harassing them, you know. Yeah.
Police records indicate that officers responded to Susan Loren's apartment more than a half a dozen times beginning in January of 2021.
What about her threat that she's going to come and drag my beer? And I started calling her because she didn't get out of my face. She just kept standing in front of me. I don't understand the attitude. You know, she runs over there inviting her children who says trespassing. And they're always walking the dog. The dog's always taking the dog. There's people on the sidewalk. There's all kinds of stuff. I said, can you please guys stop?
I do who?
I said much love, North Alabama.
Peace out. Much love, brother. Don't let the man get you down.
Trespassing sign, and he tells me to shut up. Yes, I would like to press charges. Okay. Because she doesn't need to hear.
Susan Lorenz made the same claims against A.J. Owens and her kids each time.
No fear trucking. Hello.
She said that Susan was the aggressor.
No fear trucking. It's hot out here.
Man, we were in the mid-90s here.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
It got up like 70, 80, 82, 83 today. But you got to understand, man. 82 here is like wearing a big, thick, wet blanket on you.
Yeah.
For the reals.
Because she berated the children, calling them horrible names, and even stole the toys they left in the field. Susan Loren's personal life, as well as her feud with A.J. Owens, got progressively worse going into the summer of 2023. On the afternoon of Friday, June the 2nd, 2023, one of A.J.'s sons was playing basketball in the street while his younger brother played in the field next to Miss Loren's apartment. The kids were just being kids, but to Susan Lorenz, their shrill voices and loud yells were too much to bear. At that moment, all the stress, all the previous run-ins, and all the perceived lack of respect finally came to a head. Susan Lorenz stormed out of her apartment, walked into the field, and picked up an iPad that AJ's son had left behind. When he figured out what happened, he went to her apartment, knocked on the door, and told her to give it back. But instead of handing it over, he said that she told him he was trespassing, uttered a number of racial slurs, and then threw the iPad on the ground. Later, the boy even claimed that she hit him with a roller skate and swung an umbrella at him. Whatever the
That is an odd arrangement of things to have with you. How'd she get the roller skate?
Right? Was it their roller skate?
Whose roller skate? Did she bring it?
Was it the kids'
The umbrella? I'm sure the umbrella was hers. That makes sense. But I don't see her riding around with an umbrella and roller skate.
Come on now.
I'm not saying she's right. I'm just saying what a strange circumstance. You know, if I had a nickel for every time I got hit with a roller skate, I'd have 2 nickels, which, isn't a lot, but it's kind of odd it happened twice.
Mm-hmm.
The
It's
case
44 there. It's 85 here. 85.
I can't even figure out what the temperature is here. I don't even know how to find out. I usually step out my front door and look at the bank.
Door in his face, went into her kitchen and called 911.
911, what is the address? What is your name? I'm sorry, you said your name was Susan?
Yes.
And what was your last name, Susan?
Lawrence, Lorintv.
And tell me exactly what happened.
I got kids trespassing again. They're leaving all the toys around. They're just screaming, yelling, just being absolutely obnoxious. I went and threw the roller skates over to the other side. The kid says, I'm going to beat you up for that. And he's mouthing off to me.
All right.
Right in my own home.
Oh my God. Stay in your home, bitch.
Is he out there right now?
I think we got a raid while I wasn't looking.
No.
I think 5/5 raided us.
Maybe.
I appreciate it, bud. I bet you. Okay. Do what?
Nothing.
Your mama.
No?
Yeah, there are several kids out there right now, and I'm fearing for my life. I'm very scared.
Okay.
She's very scared of the noises and kids playing outside. Seriously?
Yeah. I think this is after the interaction in the yard, but before home chick comes over and starts knocking on the door or the wall or whatever it is. It's never really made clear exactly what. I mean, I feel like to hit someone, you'd have to see them, right?
Right.
So I'm kind of confused on the description of this case. Because when you read the transcript, it's not clear exactly how chick got shot. But she shot her, definitely.
3.
Unit 3, okay.
Yes.
Do they also live in the same building?
No, they live across the street.
Okay. Were there any weapons involved?
No.
How many people are involved?
Earlier, there was about 20 kids out there screaming, yelling, asking to leave. They're like, screw you. Now there's 3 boys.
I just go ahead.
Are you just amazed at the caring? The level
Yes.
of care?
Yes. Like, oh my God. If I ever had to deal, oh my Lord. Nobody, no. That's all I can say.
Wow. Some people sent receipts that they shared.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Some people maybe shouldn't share.
3?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I just don't like them coming around my house. They've been coming onto my deck, my patio, and telling me, get up, when I'm watching TV and stuff. They have no business over here. There's no trespassing signs. I don't like the kids threatening me that they're going to beat me up, that they're going to get someone else to kill me. So this is just ridiculous.
Are you or anyone else in danger right now?
I locked my doors.
Meanwhile, the boy ran across the street and told his mother what had happened. Needless to say, she was livid that Susan Lorenz called him such horrible names and threw his expensive iPad to the ground. Shortly thereafter, she marched across the street, walked up to the woman's apartment, and began yelling and banging on the door.
Okay, it was the front door.
It is unclear what AJ said. At this point, she was obviously angry, but was not armed. Susan Lorenz claimed that AJ was threatening to kill her in a loud and menacing voice. The apartment door was locked and deadbolted during the banging and verbal barrage, but Susan Lorenz claimed that she thought the door was about to fly off the hinges, and that when it did, AJ Owens would storm into her apartment and kill her. We will never know what was going through her mind, but at approximately 9 p.m., she made the fateful decision of retrieving a Remington 380 semi-automatic pistol that she kept under the waist.
That's my kind of gun.
Decision of retrieving a Remington 380.
Don't shoot me with that thing. Shoot me with anything else.
Welcome in, Queen Ashley.
I get to St. Peter and walk up. He's like, "What you doing here?" I got shot with a 380. Just go to hell. I swear.
380 semi.
Swear to God, you shoot me with a 380 and I die, I'm coming back to fucking haunt you.
Automatic pistol that she kept under the wastebasket beside her bed. Seconds later, a single gunshot reverberated throughout the neighborhood. Then Susan Lorenz picked up the phone and called 911 for the second time that day.
What's up, Queen Ashley? Talk is cheap, baby. Good to see ya.
Screaming and yelling, and she was trying to break down my door. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my gun and I shot at the door.
At about the same time, A.J. Owen's 12-year-old son.
All right, so for future reference, anybody in chat or anybody out there in the YouTube lands, never, ever, 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 under any circumstance, discharge a firearm through a door that is closed. There's no way to call that anything other than negligent at the very least, and it could be homicide if you did it with the intent to kill.
Well, yeah, which she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also called 911. Afterward, he tried to perform CPR on his unconscious mother as she lay on Susan Lorenz's doorstep. Unbeknownst to Susan, the bullet fired from her Remington 380 struck A.J. Owens in the chest after passing through her front door.
Gotta do a little politicking. How you doing?
Stupid.
All right, I'm done.
First responders arrived at her apartment shortly thereafter.
7, I have one down. I have one elderly female barricaded in the house with a signal 0. I'm in front. I'm in front. All right. Sheriff's office, come outside with your hands up.
Okay, stop, pause.
Is the man?
Okay, so you see going into her front door, right? There's fence. So why is it these kids playing in that grassy area, like bothering her? That is just nuts. And how, again, she can't put no trespassing sign on that. It's not her property, first of all. She's renting the domicile. Like, oh my God.
Go ahead. Hold on. Here.
Yeah, no. I'm
Go
just
ahead.
no, I'm
No.
let's go.
You're doing good. You're doing real good. You're naming all the things. Name the rest of them.
No, come on. That was my little brand. Let's go.
All right.
Hey, County Sheriff,
Obviously.
outside with your hands up. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Turn around. Turn around. Where's your gun at? I don't know what's going on. You're going to be detained for now. Is there anybody else in the house? Nope, not right now. You're not under arrest. You're being detained. Come over here. 64th Marion, females detained. I need medics. 1018. Hey, who all was out here when it happened?
I left my iPad over there because we were playing games. I went to get it. She said, I said, give me the iPad. She threw the.
If y'all were here when it happened, just stand right here so I know who was out here when it happened, okay?
Over there because we were playing games, and I went to go get it. I said, "Give me my iPad," because she had it. She dropped it, tried to throw the skates at me, and
What's up, still, man?
and then
I kind of feel like I owe you an apology, but I'm not the type of person to apologize. So it's best you're gonna get, Bo.
I saw my brother, she said, come hit me with the stones. Then, she was
All right, bud. Give me a minute. Just hang out by my car, okay?
She told deputies what had happened earlier in the day and that she'd been having trouble with A.J. Owens and her kids for years. She also said that she intentionally aimed high and never meant to shoot A.J., and that she only fired the gun because she was banging on the door and yelling, "I'm going to f***ing kill you." Later that night, a neighbor told deputies that Susan Lorenz came out of her apartment that afternoon, gave AJ's kids the middle finger and told them to get off her property and called them black. When officers talked to AJ's son, he said that Susan Lorenz took his iPad from the field earlier that day and that she regularly called him and the other children of color in the neighborhood bastards, jackasses, and slaves. She denied these allegations, but admitted to throwing roller skates into the field and telling the children to go fetch them. She also copped to swinging an umbrella at one of the boys, but she said she did it only to scare him off and that she never intended to hit him. Sadly, EMTs pronounced A.J. Owens dead at the site while deputies were busy questioning Susan Lorenz, A.J.'s kids, and a number of neighbors who heard and witnessed the altercation. Shortly thereafter, A.J.'s children found out that their mother was dead and that they would never see her again.
Welcome in, Stepher.
That is
Hey,
such
Jen.
a sad story. The spit cup, welcome in.
It's the spit cup.
The
I'm gonna
spit
give.
cup.
I'm giving that one a participation trophy, just because I feel like it.
See you later, Crafty.
Being
Bye.
it, y'all understand it. Y'all experience it, right? Okay. Y'all love me. Y'all love mom. All right. Well, I got some bad news to tell you.
The Divine Sorcerer, hello.
Hello. How are you
Hello.
today?
No, I'm gonna stop coming back in a minute. No, come here. Come over here. Listen to me. No. Okay. It's okay. I know. Okay. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You can't go home.
You All right. Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
It ain't gonna be okay. Shut the hell up.
What else is he supposed to say?
Not that.
Are you supposed to tell him life's gonna suck? You're gonna be alone forever and buck up, pull your panties up? No. You tell him
No.
everything's gonna be okay.
But in
Yes,
that
it's
moment, I don't know.
attitude.
I'm sorry. I just
What else are you supposed to say? It's gonna suck. That's true. Anybody who's lost a mama knows that.
All right.
see, I'm thinking from the child's perspective.
Immediately after the shooting, but
Because that's probably the same child that left the iPad, right? You know what I mean? That might have been the child that had the conversation with the mom right before she went over there and now she's dead. You know what I'm
Maybe.
saying? So all the mind thing, like
know.
thinking it's your fault and stuff like that. It's just that.
But what else is he supposed to say?
Not that.
All right.
she was placed in a patrol car while officers tried to piece together the series of events that led to A.J. Owens' tragic death.
No, Janica. She was a Karen who didn't have kids.
That's mine too. All of them you need to listen. Thank you.
And why is she being treated this way? Like, she's a stone cold murderer, period.
At the very least, she's recklessly discharged a firearm. At most, she's a literal murder. Either way, she gets her day in court.
Let's digress.
Later that night, Susan Lorenz was taken to the police station for additional questioning.
I just remember being terrified that she was banging and screaming, and I just remember hearing her say, "I'm going to kill you." I was in fear for my life. I mean, honest to God, I just feared that she was going to come through that door. I'm sorry, that's how I felt. I can't change the way I felt. I mean, it was sheer terror on my part. I mean, honest to God, I was like,
I'd like y'all to take this moment to share this to any group message that you have with anyone not from this country. Get us out there, folks. Do the thing. Make it happen, Captain. I'll go all night. Y'all tickle my pickle. I'll tell you what.
Shaking.
One of the things I wanted to clarify with you is and try to understand better is when Ajinko was at the door, when she approached the door, when was it that you realized that it was her coming to the door?
Because I said, "Who's there?"
Okay. How did you know someone was there initially? Was it because
It was a huge banging.
Okay.
Just pounding at that door.
Okay. So initially there was no words. It was just the pounding. Yeah. That's what started.
Yes.
The interaction there.
What's up, lawyer chick? Welcome in,
Where
honey.
was the pounding at initially? Where it first began?
The front door.
At the front door.
Yes.
Okay. How many times did she? Was it just like one or
No. It
several?
was just bang, bang, bang.
Okay.
Bang.
All right. And then you asked her who's there. Okay. And what was said then?
I think she said, "Why do you speak to my children this way?" And I said, "Listen, I'm not going to speak to you. Go away." You know, if she had a problem, she should have called you guys. You know, honestly. I mean, if she really thought there was something seriously wrong, I don't understand why she just came over and just started pounding on my door and, screaming and yelling. So.
And then what happened after you said to go away?
Go away, and then it got quiet for a bit. And then she started really banging, just pounding on that door. She was relentless.
How long is a bit, would you say? Like 5-10 seconds or 2 minutes? Or?
It was an extended period of time, probably 20, 30 seconds, easily.
But during that time, you didn't
20, 30 seconds of banging on the door.
Didn't go away because
and she felt the need to grab her gun and kill this chick. What the fuck?
Down south, like the Wild West, bullets hit your entire chest. Some struggle to digest it. I seen the trouble, tried to buy a vest.
She was screaming while she was pounding.
Describe that. When you say screaming, describe what does that mean?
She was just, "You're not supposed to speak to my children this way. Why did you, And then she was saying, "I'm going to kill you." And I'm like, holy shit. I called them racial slurs, that I called them slaves, and that's never happened. I mean, when she said, "I'm like, what are you? Stop already, stop lying," And I was like, enough, what? I did call them retards once because they just kept coming and coming. I said, "Are you retarded? You can't read the sign."
Okay.
How many times do we have to tell you you're trespassing?
And then why didn't she call the cops before she pulled the gun? Why did she wait till after to call the cops?
She had already called the cops dozens of times in the weeks.
Okay, Anne. So she has no problem calling the cops is what that means. Why not call the cops in this moment instead of taking it into your own hands? I'm just saying.
Probably the pounding on the door. The actual having another adult actually to contend with, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, and you're talking to a guy who can sleep through dogs barking, but I can't sleep through you yelling at your dogs for barking. So you do the math on that.
Are you? I mean,
I could. All right. So this is a really weird one. I can sleep through babies crying, provided the baby's crying the right way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Babies have a cry where they're just upset and they're just crying to make a noise, and then they have the cry where there's something wrong, right?
Right.
And I'll sleep right through the one that's just I'm making noise and pissy in an angry sense. But if they give out that cry that something is actually I'm like, and I'm not just sit up and wake up and groggy. I'm awake and functional immediately. It's the weirdest thing.
I mean, you can tell us the truth. I mean, it's just us in here.
I love that line.
Different videos and people were telling us
I do what?
I said I love that line. You can tell us the truth. You can trust us.
Yeah, you can trust us. We're going to use what you say against you. It says so right in our tagline.
Butterfly, I feel you there. Toe snores so loud he makes the walls vibrate. Just saying.
Lean up against the wall. Have a good night.
But we spoke to everyone in the neighborhood separately. Was there other times when you got frustrated or something with these kids and you said something else that we're not talking about? I mean, have you said other words to them or something about middle fingers or something? Tell me about that.
It wasn't at the kids, it was at the gentleman.
Who's the gentleman?
I only know him by his name, Sapito.
All right. Notice what they're doing. You can't see both of them right now, but they've got her in a corner with the chair juxtaposed to her out a square. And then they've got one on the left side, one on the right side. And every time they ask a question, they inch closer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's borderline psychological torture, dude. There's no way.
He's a guy, he gets all the kids together, so they're screaming and yelling and they're doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, stop already. And I asked him, I said, please stop. I don't like the yelling. Just, sort of going to break down.
No, take your time. What is the crazy stuff that Sapito has these kids doing? Tell me about that.
I used to ride a four-wheeler. And he would come around the house. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Then you have the kids on the back, no helmets, no nothing. And I'm like, stop already. The one time I went out there, he almost hit me. He's like, missed you. Jesus Christ, really? And I'm like, I just can't deal with it. I have an injury right now.
El Barro, what's up, bud?
My left kidney artery. If he hit me, he'd kill me.
So, what firearm? I haven't had a chance to ask you about this. Now, is that a gun that you've had for years? Or you just had it for a couple of weeks? Help me understand that.
No, over a year.
Okay, over a year. And where do you normally keep that secured in the house?
That's usually next. It was in a garbage can next to my bed.
Okay. And is it like
it's not secure?
Yeah, I heard that earlier about it being under a garbage can next to her bed, and I'm like, that's sort of an odd place to keep a firearm. That implies it's low down on the floor, like near the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that put it pretty much in everybody's reach? Anyone who happens to wander through that place would have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just checking.
And that over a year ago?
Yes.
Okay, so when we were at the house, there was the other one,
Yes.
the 22 was a Ruger. How long have you had that firearm?
A few months.
Just a few months?
Yeah, not very long. And the only reason
So she not only has one, she bought two weapons within the last year.
Yeah. That's
meditated.
That's not looking good there, sister. Not gonna lie. I mean,
she's obviously at her wit's end. This has been going on 4 or 5 years, is what's being told. You know what I mean? And then within the last year, 2 guns.
Yeah.
It's because it was so expensive to shoot the Remington.
Oh, with the 380 rounds?
380, yeah, way more expensive. So I got the little plinker, just target practice and stuff like that.
Are you experienced with firearms? You got 2 guns, and it sounds like you have the little plinker, and you know about the price of ammo. Are you well versed with them?
I used to be terrified of firearms.
And
then a friend said, you really can't defend yourself. He said you should.
I'm just trying to understand what made you so in fear of this woman if you have these things between you.
When we had spoken previously on the other time when she screamed at me and I finally acquiesced, I said, whatever you want, I'm so sorry. She followed me, a foot behind me, up until I went into the house. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, she gave me the creeps.
What happened during that incident where she followed you? What was the conversation?
She said, oh, you called my kids.
But it's underneath your bed frame, bro. It's not laying on the ground, right? And you got to know what's there to know what's there. I mean, I have no objection to that.
Sure. But that says more about her. That says more about the people she associates with than it does about her, I think. We could be friends. Definitely.
I think a nigger and a slave or something stupid like that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. And I finally said, I'm going to leave this alone. I don't need, to get killed in the street.
Did she tell you if she had recordings of you saying that? Or like one of the kids?
I have no idea.
Right?
You apologize and she continued to follow you anyway?
And that's terrified of children. Is the claim
she
that
didn't.
she's
She
using.
didn't shoot a child.
I understand that. But that's because the child didn't confront her in the manner that the mom did. I think that if the child did, the child would be dead. Just my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, she followed me anyway.
How far did she follow you?
Like right up to where I go in by the wood.
By the fence?
Yeah.
Janica, I agree.
And then what happened after that?
She finally just went away.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was like a month or two ago.
Do what you did? Did you take it back and I don't know, wait another however long it took for the police to get there? I'm trying to understand that. Do you feel like you did something wrong here?
I did what I felt I had to. I honest to God thought she was going to kill me. I mean, that's all I felt. I just felt that terror. I mean, it was sheer terror.
So I went out to the house that morning, when I met you out there, and I tested the door. First of all, I looked at the door. We processed the door just to see what areas might have been touched by AJ. I looked at the door frame where it had been repaired. It looked like there was a type of putty or something used where the wood frame had been separated. I examined the deadbolt lock. The strike plates were in there pretty fastened, pretty securely. The bottom lock, just the doorknob lock. And even with the door closed, I stood on the outside. There were no indentations, no dents in the door anywhere that I could see. And I pounded on the door pretty hard. And that was with the door unlocked completely. There was no lock secured, and that door was very sturdy. I'm not trying to take away the fears of being scared.
Amen.
Because I think that is a legitimate, scary situation to be put in. But to justify to go from being scared to a point where you're taking deadly force on someone who's standing on the other side of the door and you don't even know where you're shooting at. That's a.
Ostensibly, you would use putty if, for whatever reason, you were replacing the strike plate and didn't want to have to replace the trim. Where someone kicked the door in at some point in time, you come in, you pull out the jam right there. Technically, you pull the door out the frame, pop the jam off, put the jam back, put the door back in, cut your holes, and then you put whatever treatment you're going to put on the door to make it look like a door. You know what I mean? So
I know what you mean. Yes.
So the putty, if used properly, would be virtually invisible until for some reason someone had to look at it really close, right? So the putty would have been on trim and stuff, probably, would be my guess, unless they're a really cheap fucking joint, and then it might have been used to glue some wood back together. So it might not have been nearly as stable as he thinks it is. I don't know. Depends on the carpenter, I suppose.
It's a big jump, and I think that's where Detective Pender is.
It could have been one of the kids standing there or something.
But it was her standing there. I mean, I heard her voice.
Baby.
During the interrogation,
That didn't help either.
about using racial.
Do what?
That didn't help either. The cop was trying to say, it could have been one of the children, and she's like, I know it was her. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't help your case. The fact that you knew it was her.
No, it would though. Yes, it would, because if you were shooting randomly out the door at someone that you didn't know who or whether they were there, that goes more towards reckless discharge, whereas public endangerment, stuff like that. But if you know it's someone on the other side of the door, they're an adult, and if home chick had been screaming about killing her, if that was a real thing, I'm not saying it was, I'm saying, but if this has been a regular thing where they have an interaction and that chick screams, I'm gonna kill you, it's that you have to take that into consideration when you're doing the case.
Sure.
You say it enough, they're bound to believe you eventually, This old house with Sasquatch. It's good stuff. That's a participation trophy there, Scotty Waddles. You did good, son.
Slurs against AJ and her children. She initially denied the allegations, but later she did admit to using derogatory racial terms, including the N-word, out of anger and exasperation. Susan Lorenz was eventually released, but over the next few days, community activists and AJ's family repeatedly called for her arrest on the grounds that the shooting was unprovoked. Then, 4 days after the shooting, Susan Lorenz was arrested and charged with committing manslaughter with a firearm, plus 1 count of misdemeanor battery, 1 count of culpable negligence, and 2 counts of assault. She pleaded not guilty to each of the charges, but if convicted, she could well spend up to 3 decades in state prison. This is what AJ's family wanted, and unsurprisingly, they wanted her to remain in custody until the end of the trial. But after reviewing her background and considering other mitigating factors, prosecutors did an about-face and asked the judge for a $200,000 bond. When asked how much bond she could afford, Susan Lorenz said she could only come up with about $1,700. In the end, the judge did not consider her a flight risk because she had such little money, very few assets, and didn't even own a passport. As part of her bond, Susan Lorenz was ordered to wear an ankle monitor and was prohibited from possessing any firearms or weapons. AJ's family understandably was upset when Susan Lorenz walked out of the courthouse a free woman shortly after the bond hearing. The judge said,
So, and then what happened?
Hold on.
What?
Judicial Circuit Court.
I'm sorry. I tried to pause it and hit the freaking, just happened to nail the line perfectly. They said she walked out a free woman. That is not the case at all. She walked out under personal recognizance and an ankle monitor.
But still, I mean, I'm sorry. If you take a life, that's just.
Susan Lorenz said she could only come up with about $1,700. Was ordered to wear an ankle monitor and was prohibited from possessing any firearms or weapons. AJ's family understandably was upset when Susan Lorenz walked out of the courthouse a free woman shortly after the bond hearing. The judge said she could return to her apartment to collect her belongings and live there as long as she wasn't evicted. That said, he forbade her from having any contact with the victim's family. Even so, she apparently wrote a letter to AJ Owen's children that she gave to one of the detectives working on the case. According to one source, the letter stated that she was sorry for their loss, that she never meant to kill their mother, and that she only fired the gun because she thought AJ was going to kill her. The Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy at AJ's funeral 10 days after.
Wow. You familiar with Reverend Al Sharpton?
Yes. Yep.
That's not a good sign, madam. Al Sharpton shows up. Things are not quite how they appear, right? Something, yeah. I'm going with Carrie's interpretation. Hey, Em, welcome in, girl.
Hey, Em.
Her death. Then, exactly 1 year after the shooting, a well-attended celebration of life ceremony was held at a scenic park just outside Ocala. The event included AJ's friends, family members, and neighbors, as well as community activists from an anti-gun violence organization, War Cry for Peace. AJ's son, Israel, may have captured the tone of the ceremony best when he emotionally described his mother as a kind, gentle, and beautiful woman who always gave from the heart. With Judge Robert Hodges presiding, Susan Lorenz's trial finally got underway 2.5 months later in the 5th Judicial Circuit Court on Tuesday, August the 13th, 2024. By then, the case was well known across Florida because it shone a bright spotlight on the state's controversial self-defense law, most commonly referred to as the Stand Your Ground law. In a nutshell, the law gave Floridians a right to defend themselves and use deadly force when they felt they were in imminent danger. In addition, they have absolutely no duty to retreat when an incident occurs in their dwelling, on their property, or any place they have a right to be. As AJ's family, the defendant Susan Lorenz, and the 6-person jury looked on, attorneys for the prosecution and the defense delivered their opening statements.
Allow your minds to wander back. to June 2nd of 2023 in the Quill Run of Ocala. The apartment where Susan Lawrence lived. She had just gone through hell. Adjika Owens, her neighbor, had come to her door and pounded that door violently for minutes. And Susan shot through that door. And what the evidence will show is that she shot through that door for self-defense. Because she was terrified that A.J. Owens was going to break down that door and pull her. The evidence will show that Susan, at the time, was almost 59 years old, living alone in this tiny little apartment, 800 square feet. There was only one door she could leave from. And in front of that door was A.J. Owens, an individual that was tall, that was 24 years her junior, and that outweighed her by 8 pounds.
You calling that dead woman fat? How dare you, sir? How dare you? When she was healthy. Nothing wrong with that.
Kind of pounding that you feel that's so powerful, that's so treacherous, that you feel the heartbeat in your throat. And you'll hear that the banging on that door is so hard that it's like forced through it. But you'll also hear from some children. And you'll hear that AJ was through the children.
What's up, Rusty Rivers?
Pounding on that door. And she was cursing. She was saying fuck. She was saying bitch. She was saying that bitch. She was mad, and she was mad as hell. And Susan knew it. So we are back to Susan's apartment. Everything is going on. Minutes. And Susan's listening to this, feeling fear deep into her soul, knowing that AJ goes through that door, she's a god.
Next, the jury heard.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't our AJ because there'd have been return fire.
Heard the chilling audio of the 911 call.
When was the address of the emergency?
Oh my God, this lady just tried to break down my door. I shot through the door. Oh my God.
Okay, repeat that address for me to make sure I have it correct. Okay, what is your name? Okay, what's going? Take a deep breath, honey. Calm down.
Oh my God.
You said someone tried to break down your door. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, the woman was screaming and yelling and she was trying to break down my door. And she was...
Okay, it was a female?
Yes. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my gun and I shot at the door. She was like, she was going to kill me. Oh my God.
Okay, you said you shot at the door. Is that correct?
Yes, I shot at the door because she wouldn't stop. I told her to get away and she wouldn't. She just begging to say it.
Okay, where's your gun now?
It's in my bedroom. I didn't know what to do. I was panicking. This is the woman who attacked me.
Okay, do you still see the subject?
I don't know where she is. I'm still in my house. I didn't open my door to her.
Is it just only you in the home?
Yes, it's just me.
Okay, I just need you to lock all your doors and windows, okay?
Stupid dispatch, dude.
What? I mean, This is another one of them situations, Job. What is she supposed to say?
I mean, nothing.
Get your shit. Shoot again. Shoot through the windows. What do you expect her to say?
Her shit's already locked.
Agreed.
Okay, so then why the hell are you going to tell her make sure your shit is locked?
Because you need to make sure your shit is locked before somebody comes in and gets you
Oh
for
my
shooting.
God. Fucking stupid.
Just saying. What else would you have her say, man? She's got to eat up time somehow.
No.
God, you're so demanding. Jeez.
Okay, I'm gonna stay on the line until the deputies get there. Okay, bye-bye.
One of the first witnesses to testify was 13-year-old Ariel Baez Rodriguez, who was playing with A.J. Owen's sons on the day of the shooting.
So I wanted to
hold on.
Look, Carrie, man, you're lucky I like you, okay? Quit trying to I can say what I want. It's my show, bitch. Okay?
I was just gonna make a bias joke about there already being bias in this case because his name is Ariel Baez Rodriguez. Because I'm a terrible person.
Rodriguez, who was playing with A.J. Owen's sons on the day of the shooting.
So I want to talk about the night of the shooting. Do you remember that night?
Yes.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit before the shooting happened, okay? Were you in the neighborhood that evening before the shooting?
Yes.
Or do you remember what you were doing?
Yes.
What were you doing kind of before the shooting?
I was playing around with everybody there.
Okay. Was there a field next to your dad's house?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember playing in that field at all?
Yes.
All right. That evening you were playing in the field?
Yes.
All right. So at some point, did you stop playing in the field?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what you did after you stopped playing in the field?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I went to go play basketball.
Okay. All right. And is that basketball court, is that kind of near in the neighborhood there?
Yes.
All right. Now, at some point, did you ever remember seeing Isaac and Izzy's mom? After you stopped playing in the field, did you ever see Isaac and Izzy's mom walk over to Susan's house? Do you ever remember seeing Isaac and Izzy's mom walking over to the lady who shot her's house?
Yes.
Okay. And when you saw Isaac and Izzy's mom, can you tell like what she looked like when she was walking over there? Do you remember?
She looked mad.
She looked mad?
Yeah.
Do you remember if Isaac and Izzy's mom said anything while she was walking over to the lady who shot her's house?
Yes.
All right. What do you remember her saying?
I remember her cursing.
Okay. Do you remember anything else specific she said
No.
when she was going over there? Okay. Hanging on the door.
Kind of in the middle.
In the middle?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever see Isaac and Izzy's mom reach for the door handle?
No.
Did you ever hear Isaac and Izzy's mom say, "I'm going to kill you"?
No.
So then what do you remember happening after the banging on the door? Well, before I ask that question, did you see Isaac and Izzy's mom bang on anything else while she was
No.
at the door?
Ladies
Who
and
is the
gentlemen.
person he's
have
interviewing real quick? I missed that.
Rodriguez bias. Alvin
Is
Rodriguez.
it a witness, I guess?
Yeah, it's witness, one
Okay.
of the kids.
Okay.
I'm trying to give a participation trophy to Havoc. He says, I hope he becomes a journalist. Bias reporting. It's because he's funny.
So she's banging on the door. Does something happen next? What do you remember?
I remember hearing, after she banged on the door, I remember hearing a gunshot.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened after you heard the gunshot?
I saw Isaac's mom run
Mhm.
and yelling, call 911.
Okay.
Neighborhood residents Yvonne Costa, Franklin Baez, and 12-year-old Lyndon Robinson also testified about what they saw and heard the day of the shooting.
Was there a field next to your house? Your
Yes.
structure that the children played in?
Yes.
If the children are playing in that field, were you able to see them from your vantage point in your house?
Yes.
Were they sometimes loud?
Oh, yes.
Did they often have adult supervision there with the
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the defendant would express displeasure with the children?
Objection, relevance, improper character.
That's sustained.
Did the defendant at some point have a no trespassing sign near the entrance to her residence?
Terms.
All right, let's get to the meat and drink of this. We ain't got the 10 minutes left to get it there, right?
Right, yeah.
I want to hear her testify. Or do you want to skip to the end and find out what happened?
No, I want to hear her testify and then, yeah.
All right, cool.
That you live in now. Can you describe it for me?
It's, I don't know, it's less than mid, it's a little
Wait,
bit
that ain't her.
above the hood.
Is that her? That's not
No.
her.
I don't know. No, because she's in the
No.
yellow.
Or did she not
Does she
testify at all?
testify? Yeah, I was going to say, does she even testify?
I guess she did testify. I guess we're going for the end then, huh?
I guess so.
On Monday, November the 25th, 2024.
Was February of 2022. I was about 7 weeks after the neck fusion. And she basically attacked me, and she threw the sign at me, and I thought, what is going on here? I didn't expect to be confronted like that. And I had a huge red scar on my neck at that point in time, and she's screaming at me, and she keeps coming close.
Have you seen this judge's face, madam? Perhaps.
Yes. Do you know every time that they freaking zoom in that I have bit my tongue because that would be wrong? However, this is the naughty corner, and I really want to. It
I'm
looks
just saying, trying to call it saying that you got a scar is not going to get no freaking peace from this man.
I don't know about a scar, dude. It looked like half his face started to melt or something.
That appears to be blast injuries.
Blast injuries, okay.
That would be my guess.
Maybe.
I don't know anything else that can do. I mean, possibly some types
It's
of
worse than a scar, yes, butterfly.
Yeah, it's not a
It's a
burn.
deformity. It's
Perhaps. Looks like a war wound. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah, it does look like a war wound. And I mean,
and maybe that's why I haven't said nothing. I don't know. In the back of my head.
Sorry. What?
Oh no, you're good.
And then she's trying to rip the cell phone out of my hands. I've never ever dealt with someone who was that violent that quickly. And so I was terrified of this woman, literally terrified. I've never had anyone, the first time I've met them, throw something at me and get so physically abusive. And sorry. People are saying I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. I was horrified. And when she was banging on that door, it was just so loud in the house. I could not hear what she was screaming. And then I found out the children who said they were right there actually were around the corner of the apartment, over 100 feet away. How could they hear anything? So I don't understand. And the prosecutors and the children lied.
So she just said she didn't hear anything. Right?
She said she couldn't understand how the children hear if they were so far away.
No, but before that, back it up.
Bag it up, bag it up, bag it up, bag it up. My daddy taught me good.
Who said they were right there. Actually, we're around the corner of the apartment, over 100
Oh no,
feet
I
away.
don't think you did
How could
it.
they hear anything?
No, back
So
it up
I
more.
That's what she said.
People are saying I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. I was horrified. And when she was banging on that door, it was just so loud in the house. I could not hear what she was screaming.
Okay,
And then
I could not hear what she was screaming, is what she's saying. So if she was screaming,
That's a
I'll
good
kill
point.
you.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily a death threat. A threat of bodily harm would be enough. But
What? Right, but I mean, at this point in her
but
testimony, she's saying I didn't.
no. As long as that door was shut and that threshold was uncrossed, she had no right to pull the trigger on that firearm.
Well, agreed. But I'm saying because previously there was, possible sayings of "I'll kill you." I know Carrie was saying that, that is a threat, right?
Sure.
But I mean, she just stated that she couldn't even hear what was being said. So
Right. No, you're right. That is an issue with the rest of her case. But I'll attempt to give her some benefit of some of the doubt here, right? First of all, there's no doubt that she shot that woman, and there's no doubt that the door was closed.
Locked.
And locked. Right. The door, well, yeah, and locked. The very second that door got kicked open or somebody opened that door, blast ass on last, bro.
Yes.
Q, like fucking storm troopers in this bitch.
Yes. I mean, the officer, the detective, whatever, said that there weren't even, like dents in the door or impressions of the door to where she was beating, so loud. Or just, I don't know.
And yeah, they can be really, really loud when they're being pounded upon. You know how it is when you're being pounded upon. There's something wrong with me. We gotta fix things. It's too small to read. Ain't that sucky?
I'll leave someone alone.
I have a tattoo.
I know. Tigger. Bounce, bounce, bounce. All right, guys, it's that time. I just want to say thank you for coming and joining us in the Naughty Corner Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Y'all are awesome. Okay.
3, 2, 1. And here